Well, good day. I have the great privilege of recording another short video for you that Betsy asked me to do, answering one of your questions. I'm Alan Bevere, and I'm a pastor, Methodist pastor in East Ohio Conference. So I'm just glad to have this opportunity. So the question today is, what's the difference between grace and mercy? Great question. So let me turn to the New Testament. The Bible has a lot to say about grace and mercy, as I'm sure you've heard from Betsy. But let me sort of give my own twist of a parable of Jesus to illustrate the difference between the two. By the way, you cannot have grace without mercy, but grace is bigger than mercy. Okay, so prodigal son, right? The younger son says to his dad, I want my inheritance now. I can't wait until you're dead because, life's passing me by and, I'm already 17 and before I know it, I'm going to be old. So I need this inheritance now because I need to go find myself. And of course, quite shameful thing to ask for in that culture because it's equivalent to saying, Dad, as far as I'm concerned, I wish you were dead so I could have my inheritance now. Father, who is within his rights to disown his son for that question, doesn't. He gives him his share of the estate, and he goes off to a far country to live life, live it up. And soon his resources are gone. To make things worse, there's a famine. Nobody's giving him anything to eat. He can't find work or any kind of decent work. And so he's so desperate, he ends up feeding pigs, which is about as low as a Jewish boy can sink in that culture, right? Not only do you not eat pork, but to be willing to be in contact with pigs and being so hungry that you long to eat the slop that they eat. Well, he decides that it's time to come to his senses, or as a better way to say it, is not that when he came to his senses, but when he came to himself, when he realized who he really was, that his identity wasn't found to be found out there somewhere, but his identity was found in where he was from his story, from his family, everything he was about, everything he grew up to be. That was what gave him his identity. So he heads back home. And he's not going to go back to ask to be a son again. He's just going to ask to be a hired servant. He said, man, at least I'll have something to eat. And I'll have a roof over my head. And we're told that the father is far off. He sees his son. He runs toward him, which is an amazing thing in that culture too, because it was considered undignified for the elderly to run. And it was the younger folks who were to be waiting on the elderly and not the other way around. But the father sees him. He runs down the road. He greets him with a kiss, and the son goes into a speech about he's not worthy to be his son, but just hire me, just give me a job. And the father clearly ignores that and tells the servants to bring him shoes and put a ring on his finger. In other words, he's my son. Give him everything that I would give my son. And then he has the feast and kills the fatted calf in order to celebrate. And we know the end of the story. The older son finds out about this. He is not happy because he feels like he's been faithful, unlike his younger brother. And his father pleads with him to come in, and he doesn't want to. And the story ends that way. We don't know whether the older son goes into the celebration or not. All right, that's the story of the parable of the prodigal son. And so what's the difference here between mercy and grace? Well, I'm going to quote author Max Lucado, who says, the difference between mercy and grace is that mercy is giving someone a second chance. Grace is throwing a party for that person. So mercy is not giving people what they don't, is not giving people what they deserve. Grace is giving to people what they can't imagine that they deserve. And so by the father not only just receiving his son, he not only gets a mercy, a second chance, But the father throws a great party. He throws a great extravagant party to celebrate his son's return. You know, when I was prior to pastoring where I am now, I was in a downtown urban setting. So we worked with a lot of homeless, a lot of persons in recovery, a lot of persons who weren't in recovery and were dealing with addictions. But a lot of these persons, because of their home life, because of their backgrounds, really had no sense of self-worth. And one of the things over and over again that touched me was when we would show these folks, find ways to show them what they were worth, to show them that extravagant grace. Throwing a birthday party for a young man who had been on the streets for years, who grew up in a dysfunctional house, parents were addicts, and he just didn't feel like he was worth anything. And to throw him a party, a birthday party, his first birthday party ever, it wasn't just giving him mercy of making sure that he got a meal to satisfy his hunger, but to say to him, you matter. You matter so much. In fact, you matter so much, we're going to celebrate your birthday because when you came into the world, you made a difference. Your presence has made a difference in our lives. And so mercy in that context was giving the person some food to eat that would last for until breakfast. But grace was throwing a party with birthday cake and saying to him, you are one of us. You are made in the image of God, and God loves you. And your presence is a gift to us. That is grace. So I hope in this day that not only you will be merciful, but that you will find ways to offer God's extravagant grace to others, because God has offered it to you. God has offered it to me. And be looking, be sensitive, because there may be situations where God is speaking to you to find a way to proverbially throw a party of grace for others. All right. Have a great day.